Hey, Two Cities family. We're excited to have our final installment in our SOS series. We've loved these casual conversations where we try to tackle tough topics about all things relationships. And today we're talking about love that lasts. We're glad to have Randy and Cheryl Peters with us, covenant members here at Two Cities Church, and also JT and Alicia Grimes. JT is one of our elders, and Alicia is one of our residents. So I guess to start our conversations, just to begin, where did you meet, and how long have you all been together?
We have been married for 40 years, and 41 in June, and we met at Randy's parents' house. I was dating one of Randy's best friends, and we stopped by to see if they wanted to go with us. He and his girlfriend wanted to go with us to the movies, and he and his girlfriend were not. They were on the outs. So about 6 months later, when I had broken up with this good friend, Randy asked me out.
How long did you wait after she'd broken up with a good friend, Randy?
A decent, respectable amount of time.
Swooped in there. I hear
About 3 days.
That's right. It's fantastic. Grimes, how long have y'all been together, and where did you meet?
We've been married 29 years. We met at NC State University. We were both students there. We kind of knew each other in passing, but one day we were going through, we have got a free expression tunnel at State where you get from one side of the campus to the other, and we stopped and chatted. And after he walked off, I said, "Bye, TJ." And I thought, oh, that wasn't right. But he said...
Hey, I was just glad she just said anything. I was like, I'm TJ, JT, JR, you name it. Hey, just call me.
So that's how we met.
That's great. And I guess you all have been married. How long have you been married?
29 years.
29 and 41. Did I hear that right? 40 and 29 years. So maybe looking back to when you began your marriage. JT, this could be... I'll direct this one to you. Looking back to when you began, or maybe in retrospect, what did it look like for you and Alicia to begin your relationship, your marriage relationship, with a foundation of a covenant, of faithfulness, of fidelity? What did that practically look like for you guys?
Well, Stephen, that's a good question. One of the things, I guess the thing that attracted me the most to Alicia was just her love for the Lord. And obviously, I thought she was gorgeous, and all those other things that just were so beautiful about her. But I knew that she loved the Lord and that she wanted to be faithful to Him, and that to me was the thing that helped really start the foundation of our marriage, and then. Obviously, I was trying to be faithful to the Lord as well, and it just gave us a lot of peace, a lot to build off of, and just to look to Him for our future. And I look back at that, and at the time, I certainly wasn't thinking about it deeply, but I look back and I just see how vital that was, how foundational it was to everything else that has come, over the last 3 decades.
Really helpful that even just, I don't even want to say simple, but really that simple, profound truth of putting Christ first individually lays the foundation when you come together. And that's a great truth to remind. Maybe you all, what did it look like as you were beginning your relationship, or now even retrospect, looking back, to have that covenant commitment that, till death do us part, have that part be the foundation of your relationship?
Well, they say that confession is good for the soul pastor. It's good for the soul pastor. So when we got married, I described myself as a Christian, but I probably really wasn't. I was a Christian deist. I believed in God. I believed Jesus was the Son of God. But I really did not have a personal relationship with God at the time, which Cheryl didn't really understand, because otherwise she wouldn't have married me. But I credit Cheryl and her witness and her the way that she kind of led me along in getting me involved with Christian people who I could respect. Not necessarily the kind of people that I grew up with in my very, very fundamentalist, very primitive Baptist-style church that I just kind of rejected intellectually. And so as she led me into, a true relationship, a better relationship with Jesus, and a truly conceived relationship with Jesus, then our relationship got better over the years too.
Scripture tells us in places like 1 Corinthians, also in Peter, I was listening to it today, how really a primary witness can be that your significant other, your spouse. That's a great story. That's a great reminder. So how about this? What are some things that can get in the way of intimacy with your spouse as you grow older, as you face different seasons of life, whether it be school or kids or sports or work or whatever else? What are some things, some places, some seasons that can get in the way of intimacy with your spouse?
I guess I'll just say there's always something in every season. When you're first married, you're starting your career, you're working hard, and you have kids, and you've got all the responsibility of children, and every season is going to have a barrier. It's going to have a challenge. So I think if you think, I'm going to wait until the next season to build a strong marriage or to work on this relationship, that season may never come. And so, I just think every season has a challenge, and it has to be that we are so committed to this relationship that this is the primary relationship for my whole life. And my kids don't supersede this relationship. My career doesn't supersede. Nothing is going to trump this primary relationship, because when the decades go by, and you know this as well as we do, we love our kids, but they're grown and they have their own lives, and we love them as adults. But when we sit down at night, it's the two of us looking at each other across the table, and we're doing life for the rest of the years that we have. And so just to keep that primary focus that this is the most important earthly relationship that we have, and there will always be a reason, there will always be excuses to not put it in the position that it really needs to be. So that may not be exactly what you were asking, but, for us now, you would think that at our age we have all this free time. And, I remember thinking my parents, I'm like, when they retired, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you not at our beck and call? Like, surely you have all this time. But we're busier than we've ever been. And so it's just that reminder that there's never going to be the right, easy time to just pour into this most important relationship. But every season, you've just got to keep it in focus.
And maybe for some maybe specific, tangible, practical steps, I'm thinking Randy as a medical professional, JT as a business owner, what are some ways that you are kind of actively trying to preserve or protect or prioritize your marriage in the midst of a busy professional schedule?
One of the things, with work was you get a sense of when you really just need to carve out time, even if it's in the business day. And, she's going to be the priority, and our marriage is going to be the priority. And I don't know, we just had a lot of fun through the years with rolling with the punches. Some of this stuff you just can't plan, but that makes it pretty exciting. So, yeah.
One of the things that Cheryl and I talked about as we were talking about getting married was the priority of our family once we got married. They tell you all the way through medical training that medicine is a jealous mistress, and that's very, very true. They're the expectations. And it's not just medicine, but a lot of professions are demanding, and nowadays maybe more so than 40 years ago, whether you're expected to be on call 24/7 and always available and responding to your email. But we decided early on that our family was going to be a commitment for our time and our resources. And so as I entered my profession, I just, as JT said, carved out time that, I'll make it to as many music recitals and soccer games as I can. And it puts you sometimes in a difficult relationship with your people at work who have a different set of expectations for you. But you have to find balance. You have to do your job. You have to be responsible. But several people who I've read over the years have talked about your first responsibility is to the people who will sit on the first row at your funeral. And so those are the people who deserve most of your time. And we've tried to pattern that in our marriage.
I love that word, to carve out time. It just shows you that time is not going to naturally be there. Times you have to set hard boundaries, even some hard boundaries that may upset or ruffle some feathers. Very helpful. Cheryl, what does it look like balancing prioritizing family, but then as Alicia reminds, sometimes with young kids or older kids, whatever else, you also have to prioritize your marriage. So how did you all kind of navigate those differences? Hey, we want to prioritize as a family, but then also I want to prioritize my relationship with you and Randy.
I think Randy and I've always wanted to have, we've talked about this before we were married too, is we always wanted to have something that we always wanted to do together, something we had in common. So we would, I think first starting out, we were like canoeing and rafting and things like that in the family too. And then we were cycling. We did that, and ballroom dance. We're in a book club now, which is kind of nice. So we've just, made sure we've had things that we can do together. So that's, and then Randy's always been a really good listener. I know he's been very busy, but he's always been great with me and with the kids. Whenever he's busy, he'll always stop and listen to what we have to say. If we need to talk for a long time or whatever, he's there. So I've really appreciated that. So
I really loved hearing, as JT had said too, as time went on, I love how that answer just shows that, hey, this is something that moves and flows and ebbs in your seasons of life. That maybe what you enjoy doing yesteryear is not what you necessarily enjoy or are able to do at this point in time in your life. And I've heard it put one way too, that the couple that plays together stays together. Trying to find an opportunity to laugh and to have fun and to be friends, not just co-parents that happen to still be under the same roof. So how about this? There will be, how's this work? Flows, right? Great times of relationships. And then as we are sinful people, and this is a broken world, there will be ebbs. There will be hard times in relationships. Maybe what does it look like in those seasons of life where you felt disconnected or distant or discontent? How have you worked for a love that lasts even in those hard seasons of marriage?
Early on, we started praying together before we go to sleep at night. And I mean, I hate to even admit this, but there were times that we would be so upset with one another. And we'd always hold hands when we'd pray. There were times that we would literally just have a pinky together whenever we would start. By the end of it, obviously, the conviction of the Lord and all, we were holding hands. But we did. We made that commitment to pray for one another, with one another early on. And we have done that, I guess, all our marriage. The other was just 5 love languages stuff. Whenever I realized her love language is quality time. So I would do exactly this right here. Sit on the couch, tell me about your day. And it worked, but then it also not only helped smooth out those things, it strengthened us. It gave us a lot of just structural support where our marriage got so much stronger. I knew her better, and she knew me better, and we're living off of that now. So yeah.
At the beginning of your marriage, you're promising something that you don't know. You're promising that you're going to keep this covenant through all these different situations, but they're not here yet. And so those get tested, and those are hard times. And so you grow, and you fail, and you fail forward, and you succeed, and God's in all that. But like for us, especially early on, I struggled in our marriage. Maybe more than JT did, but I just felt like I made this covenant. And I was committed to God. I had promised him that I was going to keep this through the power of the Spirit. And there was nothing biblically to give me any reason to not fulfill that covenant. And and I had promised JT. And so that really helped me in those seasons where that were harder to be, like I really want to honor the Lord. If marriage is a picture of Christ in the church, I don't want to dishonor Christ either. And so we also had really good people around us. And I'll speak to that, just the power of community when those seasons of marriage are difficult, to have those people around you that pray and that encourage you biblically, not just, oh, I know, you just should get back at him or whatever, but to say, okay, I hear you, let's pray about that. What's your part? How can you make this better? I've had that for 20 years. I've had those kinds of relationships. And I think those have made a tremendous difference for me in our marriage. And JT as well. JT's had some great friends over the decades. I don't know where we would be without Christian community and the way that has helped shaped our marriage.
I think in those down times, you see the covenant as, oh my gosh, I'm stuck in this forever. But really, hindsight, you're saying you step back and say, no, it's actually because of that covenant that we were able to work and grow and learn and come closer together, closer to the Lord. And that a beautiful reminder.
And then you look back and you're like, oh my goodness, what if I had not kept, like, what if I had walked away? Or what, all that we have now that has grown and deepened and grown beautiful over the years. So I'm just thankful really for the Lord's faithfulness more than mine, honestly. He's helped us to be faithful, and I'm so thankful for that.
Any advice for married couples in the hard times?
We had a difficulty kind of hung over most of our marriage. About when our daughter was just about to turn 2, she was diagnosed with this kind of chronic indolent childhood cancer called a desmoid tumor. It's not a risk of life cancer, but it's a risk of limb cancer. And it's very rare. People didn't understand how to treat it. There was a lot of controversy how to treat it. And it just kept coming back and coming back and coming back. And in the early days of that, Cheryl coped with it by withdrawing and just sort of going into herself and her kids. And I needed support. I needed somebody to talk to and to hang on to and all that. So that was a real tough time for us as we sort of cope with that in our own ways, which were not always mutually supportive. But I liked what you said, Alicia, about the covenant and the commitment to the covenant. And I think what sustained us a lot during that time is that commitment. We were committed to one another. We were committed to one another as husband and wife, but also as people who loved and respected each other.
And so if you're watching this video today, if you're listening, and I think hopefully it'll just be an encouragement and comfort to you that if you're struggling, you're not the only married couple that is struggling or has struggled. But as we're saying, under a devotion to the Lord Jesus Christ, within a covenant commitment of marriage, it will get better if you work at it. So maybe how about that? As we're kind of landing the plane here, maybe practical tips. How have you kept your love and connection strong over the years? Over these 40 years, 29 years, how do you continue to work at your marriage? Continue to keep your love and connection strong?
Well, like I said before, I think that, finding things that we have in common, that we were friends first when we were dating. We were, it was friendship. And we've always liked each other. We've always enjoyed each other's company. And so we just have found things to do. And I think, mutual respect and talking to each other, really listening to each other. I think that's been probably the biggest thing. Yeah.
Making opportunities to get to know one another better. We have never had as much of a common devotional life as we probably should have had. She has her way of quiet time, and I have my way of quiet time. And we do some things together, but not a lot. But over the last couple of years, largely at Cheryl's urging, we're really trying hard to have that kind of common devotional time like you guys have had. And that, as long as our continued commitment to one another and helping one another be the best versions of ourselves that we can be in the eyes of God, has been, I think, key to helping us grow even at this point in our lives.
What a great reminder that even after 40 years, you're still learning, you're still growing. There's still things to work on that you're aware of and you're working together. That's a great reminder. Grimes is, how do you keep your love connection? How do you keep it so strong? How do you sharpen that relationship?
Well,
we kiss a lot.
We do. Our kids, they used to say, "Oh no, not again." Early on, just realizing there's really no place for negativity. I made a conscious decision because I would hear other husbands say something negative about their wife in public or amongst guys, and I just thought, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to let Satan get a foothold there. And so that has really helped. And then, just, I guess maybe this is the engineer in me, the designer. I think about, well, there is no greater designer than the Lord. And the way he has designed marriage, the way he's designed the family, I really thought about that. And I thought, I want to make it one of my life goals to see Alicia thrive and to really champion her and try to be. And I mean, I've certainly stumbled and failed at times with that, but really just trying to have the trend moving upward throughout our marriage to just have her become the best version of her that God has purposed her for. And I live like a king, because of it. I see how God's design in that, in our family, in everything, that the ripple effect of doing things God's way, it really does work. That design really works. So anyway, that served us really well.
I mean, practically, it's not any rocket science. It's just, we spend time together. We go to dinner together. We listen to a lot of audiobooks. So we'll listen to audible books and talk about them, and we have fun doing that. And, some of them are, interesting, thoughtful, learning books, and others are just like, thriller books or, whatever it is that we come across. But just to kind of keep a lot of things in common. And we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun with our family. We play a lot of games. We laugh a lot. You try to, life can be heavy. So we try to have as many light moments as we can as a family and as a couple. But just, people say, well, is it quality time? Is it quantity time? I don't think you can get away with just one. It does take a quantity of time with each other to build a relationship. But you can have a lot of time and never go deeper than just surface level. So it just takes a lot of intentionality. I like what Randy said. Just continue to be a student of your spouse, because we're always changing. And, every year that passes, we grow in a different direction, slightly. And just to, always be fascinated with your spouse and interested in, like, who is this person? What do they think about this? Like, I think when someone treats you that way, you feel it, and it makes you feel treasured, and it makes you want to lean into the relationship.
What a great reminder, just an encouragement for each of us, no matter where we find ourselves in our relationships. It's not only, a command to stay faithful to covenant, but it's also our heart's desire to have a love that lasts, and that's something that we continue to work on and continue to grow. So thank you both for being here and even open up a little window into the life of your relationship. And thank you for joining us for our SOS Conversations. It's been our joy through this sermon series and even casual conversations here to, Lord willing, bring the Word of God more to bear in your life and your relationships. So blessings as you go.